Hi guys, and welcome to another Emacs tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're going to be talking about the internal system directories inside of your Emacs installation. So if you want to think of Emacs as a robot, or you want to think of Emacs as a car, for example, in both of those cases, you can, I don't know about the robot, but in a car, you can essentially lift up the hood and you can look at the machinery that's inside of the car, and Emacs has kind of the same things inside of it. It's got a lot of machinery, and we typically, as a user, we don't need to work with that machinery. We don't really care too much about what's inside of an installation of Emacs. Most of our configuration files are custom changes to our Emacs program. They go into a directory that's for user-specific files called our .emacs.d directory. So when we build an Emacs program, we make a lot of changes to our program, and these changes, they enable us to kind of build a professional sort of workshop where we can write code, we can automate code, we can do things like web development, things like computer programming. We save a lot of files, and we put all those user files in our .emacs.d directory. But in this tutorial, we're going to take a look inside of the user directory, what's inside of the internal system. And I'd like to run through this kind of as quickly as possible because a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter, but I'll just give you an option to look on the screen so that you can see what's there. And actually, before we go through those slides, let's go take a look inside of an Emacs installation at the root directories. This is kind of under the hood in Emacs. So this is what we're looking at when we're looking under the hood. We have a bin directory. These are folders. You can see they're off of the home directory in the local.bin directory. That's where I've installed my Emacs program. We've got the .bin directory, we've got include, we've got libexec, and the share directory. So this bin directory, this is where we have our actual executables. We've got C tags, ebrowse, the Emacs client. This is a symlink, which when we start Emacs from the command line, that's where we get the symlink. We've got e-tags as well. We have the Emacs client program, which is like a daemon, and then we have the emacs.30.2. So we could start Emacs from the command line using .emacs, or we could use the path and start Emacs with this emacs.30.2. We looked at that in one of the previous videos. So this is what we're going to be looking at when we look at these. So here we're in a slideshow, and you can zoom in on the screen. Let's actually make this a little bit smaller. We'll just expand it on the sides a little bit so that you can have a look at it. And I'm just going to move through these. What you want to look at, this is the path at the top. So this is what we're looking at on this screen here. And this is the same screen right here. So we've got the directory, we have the bin, we've got the C tags, we've got the E tags. So I've put the path to the folder on the top. There's a little text explaining what it is. And then we've got some text here which you can read, which can explain how this might be useful for you at some point. I'm not going to read all of these slides because you're not really going to be using them, but this is an idea of what's under the hood in an Emacs installation. Actually, we can turn on some highlighting. So you can see over here, it says 30.2, and then there's an ID and then preloaded. Actually find that ID. If we look in this directory, we're in the lib emacs 30.2. So we go into lib, we go into emacs, we go into 30.2. We have a native Lisp directory. And then inside of the native Lisp directory, we've got this ID. So that really depends. It's a number, has something to do with your build. Where it comes is going to be different for your Emacs installation. Services, got some services here. Of course, we've got the libexec. Again, you can read these. I'm just going to skip through these. There's a lot of internal directories. Here we're in the share.emacs. This is the main architecture for our independent Emacs data. And these are where basically the Lisp assets are stored. There's a lot of files in here. You're welcome to look through them. Typically, people are not going to use these. These are part of the core functionality. They've got calculators, calendars, parsing libraries, lots of Lisp emulation. We've got the ERC client, which is kind of like, I think, like an ICQ, if I'm not mistaken, IRC. eShell, of course. eShell is all important. eShell. gnus reader, I never use it. Image display. We've got internationalization, encoding, multilingual text support. Language support. This one, I have no idea what it is. Here we've got some different mail functionality. Again, most of these files, I would never deal with them. XML, in XML parser, obsolete libraries. There's a lot of them in Emacs. It's a very old program. It's got a lot of functionality that's no longer being used. Org mode, of course. If you ever wanted to explore the games, they've got, I believe, Tetris and a number of different games. Programming modes. There's lots of stuff in the programming modes. Term support, text modes, a URL directory, use package integration, version control integration, of course, the site Lisp directory, which I talked about. There's another site Lisp for you. Schemas, glib, more schemas, icons. Of course, that means you can find the icons. They'll typically be installed into your .local.share.applications directory on an Ubuntu system, so you can find them there. You can also find them in your Emacs systems files. Man pages, if you're not going to use AI to answer your questions, you probably will use AI, but if not, you could always use the man pages. This is interesting. This is one thing that can happen with Emacs. Let's say you install an Emacs installation. Let's say it's like August of 2026 and a new Emacs comes out, new Emacs version. You start using it, and then let's say it's January of 2027 and the Emacs version hasn't changed, but a lot of the libraries have changed, and the people that are building libraries, they decide to upgrade some of the dependency libraries, and those change, and Emacs is still using the built-in dependencies. So in that case, and that actually happens quite often, you might try to install the updated dependency. It doesn't work. So what you can do is you can unload it. You can create a use package declaration for the dependency that's installed inside of Emacs. You can then unload the feature, which you would do here. We're doing this with transient, which is important if you're using GPTel. You want to do some interaction with AI. You can go ahead and you can unload your transient, and then you can re-require it because you've added this path. You're going to get the transient library that you need. So this is a quick trick if you wanted to unload and then reload something so you get the updated library, because Emacs is not letting you do it because it's got this built-in functionality. And I think that's more or less the end of this tutorial. This is really what's under the hood in Emacs. Again, you don't need to worry about what's under the hood in Emacs, but I just wanted to give you a look at what is under the hood. Typically, these would be in all these directories that we just looked at. You're welcome to, you can scoot around inside of your Emacs program and you can look at these different directories and see what they might mean to you. Keep in mind that this entire Emacs directory, you can copy it to another folder. You can put it in another location. If you built Emacs and WSL on Windows, you can copy it to your root directory. You can put it into your app files. You can put it into your user directory. You can literally copy and paste this entire thing with all of its inclusive files, and it's going to work. Whatever you do with it, wherever you put it, it's going to work. But you do want to be mindful that it needs to be on your path and that there are some specifications that you do need to be concerned about when you're using the Emacs program. So that's it for this tutorial. We talked about what's under the hood in an Emacs installation. I walked you through some of the slides so you can see what you might need some of those files for, what they do. Typically, you're not going to be using those. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about the desktop files and the shortcuts on Windows. So we'll have a look at how you can configure your desktop files and your shortcuts to start up your Emacs program so we can get you running with Emacs quickly and easily, get you started up working on your workshop, working on your files. So thanks so much for watching. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next video.